What was it? You'll say. And they will look you in the eye and say, that was reality. This is not. The circle of 12, the entire episode, the exercise, this meditation is designed so you can see what is real and what is not. We ask you to go to a place that is more real than this, but that you don't think that way. Anyone who's describing this experience to somebody else will tell them about going from this reality perhaps to another one, not saying, well, we're living in a piece of reality and Kryon wants us to see it all. That's what you're doing. It's time. It's time for an attitude adjustment even about what you might be doing in this circle of 12. We do this weekly. The metaphor is this. Let's go there now. There is a bridge. There's always a bridge. Did I tell you there doesn't have to be? I said that before. There are some listening now, watching now, that say, well, I really don't need a bridge. Let's go, Kryon. Let's just be there. And those that say that, they got it. They understand. You see, we're going across a bridge for you who have never been there or have been there or have been there only partially to understand that a bridge is not needed. It's part of you now. You can experience, what's on the other side of that bridge? You can experience that right now. But it's part of the meditation. We go across the bridge and you go to that halfway point. And there often is a mist. Now, some people have taken the mist away and they see clearly the portal and they say, let's go. You don't have to stop. You might say that they're no longer apprentices, that they got it. They understand what is going on. It's not about moving to a greater place. Even if it's your soul, it's about integrating to this place. You visit it so often and understand it so often that you become it. You become it every day when you wake up in the morning. No bridge. You're there. And you start to understand what is possible. I want you to come across that bridge with me. Those, even if you don't need a bridge, just take my hand. Come closer right now. Let's go across together. We move through that mist for some of you, and some not. But we do move. It's a multidimensional perception that you start to have of yourself. You're so big. You've been here so long. You've played so many parts on this planet. You've had so many expressions, all of you. Old souls are the ones who are viewing and listening. The largeness, the bigness that I speak about is your knowledge and your wisdom and your perception of truly the truth of the universe. The truth is you are part of God, the creative source of the universe. You're part of it, not apart from it. You are a part of it. And that creates an entire different idea of what's going on. Come with me to that theater in the round, please. We always go through a door, perhaps a portal, perhaps you come to the theater and it's a sunken theater where you have to go down to get up to the stage. And there are many who are watching around it, but not this time. There's very few who are here. There's a core group who's expecting you now, but it's perhaps one of the most special core groups we have ever given you because it's personal. This one is personal. Every single one of you will have a different idea of what is going on next. Take the chair and sit. You recognize that this group is small. In fact, it's kind of far away, being in the audience there in the seat. So you're going to stand up and you're going to pull your chair closer to the stage. You see, it's not in the round anymore. They're just right in front of you. To the edge of the stage, you pull the chair and you look and you start to recognize who's there. I'm going to describe this, and who it's going to be will be different for all of you. First of all, those that you're going to recognize are not necessarily those in human form. You're recognizing the soul energy of a group of people. Now that is different from the consciousness of those who you will recognize. I'll identify them in a moment. What you're going to see is a group of people who you know extremely well. And the faces are there. But the consciousness is not. The consciousness of who you think they are is back in an older energy, or perhaps passed on. But what you're seeing now is their soul consciousness, for they know all things, just as you do in your soul when you're not on the planet. These are the ones, dear ones, who have turned their back on you, who've said goodbye because you're too strange, who rolled their eyes and said, well, not for me, who have called you crazy, or that you got off the deep end, or you don't know what you're saying, or the ones who have said you haven't paid any attention to what we've taught you spiritually and you've left the fold, and now you'll be judged for it. They're here too. Every friend you've ever lost, every family member you've ever lost, even those friends of friends, and you recognize their faces, and they're all there in a small group. And I'll tell you why they're there. With one voice, over and over, they're going to give you some information. They know what you know. And they're going to say, it may not seem like it, but thank you for what you've done, because you're going to change the world. Thank you for your understanding and your forgiveness of who we are in human form. Thank you for your forgiveness of an older energy human being that we are on earth. But our souls are speaking to you, and they're saying, we know what you know. That's why we're sitting here. And they may sing a song or two with you. They may want to hug you even. You may even get off the chair and be with them and enjoy them in that form, because they know what you know. In this beautiful theater, there's like no other place you've ever been, meeting their soul energy. The people you think you've loved and lost, or didn't understand you, or turned their back, they're all there. They're all there with a perfect consciousness of understanding and love, and they're looking at you and say, we're sorry that our low consciousness has done what it's done, but that's our free choice. But in a soul energy, we know what you know. Thank you for enduring, forgiving, being, and carrying the color that you carry. Can you see this? Can such a thing be true? And the answer is yes, dear ones, they all have souls. All those who turn their back on you, they all have souls, and those souls are here. Those souls know better. Because they are a part of God. You've seen it, you know it. Spend some time with them in this form. It'll help your forgiveness when you return to the lower conscious, perhaps, that you see them in, the black and white earth that you had to return to. Spend some time, stay, and know that you are loved, and that there is a much bigger picture, and they see it too. And so it is. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Healing Wednesdays and the Circle of 12. I'm Lee Carroll.
And I'm Monica Morani.
For those of you who are joining us for the first time, this is a members-only program. Healing Wednesday is a time where we come together, and each week, every Wednesday of the year, actually, now, we have discussions, meditations, special speakers, and, of course, channeling. As I said, this is just for members, and this show is just for members, and I want to thank you all very much for your membership and coming to see and be with us. I know the chat area is very active, and I want to tell you a little more about that in just a bit because I don't know if you know it, but even though we may not be participating in the chat and those breaks and things, we're looking. we see what you say. If you have trouble streaming this program, if it goes off the air, if it goes upside down or backwards, if you can't hear the audio, if it does anything strange, don't be frustrated, please. You can be disappointed, but don't be frustrated. Many times, if we go off, actually, just hang around because it comes back. And so whatever the problems are corrected, don't just give up. But if it's hard to watch, and that's what I'm talking about, don't be frustrated because within an hour or so, after this broadcast, there's replays, and it's in your portal to see. So just relax and go to the portal. You get the recording, and it'll be perfect. Back to those comments. Monica and I enjoy watching the comment where you're taking a break, whatever you're doing during the break. We're usually reading what you've had to say. And sometimes, we'll react to it we'll say, well, maybe the next program will do this or that. That actually has happened.
I think one of the funniest ones we were looking at was one where it just had an L, comma, 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 comma. I think his cat might have fallen asleep on the keyboard or something.
Her cat, or I think it was, yeah. And it was mentioned in the her cat is at the keyboard again. Because we were wondering, what is that? What is going on? What is happening? Yeah. So these are the funny things that have taken place. We have many healers. I happen to believe that we are just increasing the caliber of our healers all the time because we are meeting such wonderful folks. Word is getting around. In the start of this, when we only had done a few programs, we were searching around for who would be best and all that, just in our scope of knowledge. Then we realized we needed help, and that's when we turned to you. And it's exploded into some of the finest healers and people and modalities that we have seen. And many of them are new to me. Some of them are not new, but they are similar to me. And I want to thank you for that. However, it's not over because we've got a long way to go. And I mean, we've got a year or so. So we're always and still looking for healers. So if you are one or know of one and think it would match our program, because you've seen what we do, it's cryonmasters.com/call. That's cryonmasters.com/call is a form that will get you to the place where you fill it out to be on the show. So again, if it's not you, maybe you have a suggestion of a friend or whatever, be sure and talk to them first. So it's not a surprise. And it helps if they have a following and things that will help people that they can get on the net. All right. I don't know where we are here in the timing, but I want to do some Q&A.
Exactly. So we welcome your questions. And in your membership portal, it's so easy. There is a big icon. It says submit your question. Click on that and you can submit your question to us. You can also find that by going to cryonmasters.com/questions. Now here's the parameters. Ask a question that others would be interested in. We really don't want personal questions like, what can I do about my psychic dog? Make the questions as concise and short as possible. And anything else to add, Lee?
I would love to have a psychic dog. We can get into pets if you want to. Someday we ought to talk about pets, but I think they're very psychic.
All right. Well, let's go to that first question that we want to discuss for this episode, and that is from Michelle from Florida in the US. She is asking, is it possible for outside energies to follow you past the mist? And for the first time, I felt something sinister slip through me. I felt I had to run to the stage door and shut it tight behind me. I was able to figure out what it symbolized and cleared it later that evening, but I was surprised that going into my soul could have someone or something else present that felt unwanted. Lee, can you explain to Michelle what is going on?
I think Michelle already knows because I think she's analyzed it, and as she says in her comments that she pretty well figured it out and dealt with it. However, I want everyone else to know, and also Michelle to know, that this is not unusual, it is not common, and you look at it in a very linear fashion, and you will say, what is this? Is it possible that some evil thing has followed me through the door or any of that? And as odd as that may sound, or as perhaps crazy as that sounds, I want to explain it. There is precedent, and the precedent is very well revealed in the book from Hay House called The Journey Home. And this is Kryon book 5. We wrote it many, many years ago, and it is still in print. And today, it's a story about a man named Michael Thomas who goes into a sacred land after he actually dies and comes back and has instructions to go meet 7 angels. And in order to do that, he has to then go into this land. Now, this land is totally sacred. This is the land of his soul, and he meets angels there. And the thing about this is that he's in there, in this land, he walks in there, and immediately he feels something is following him. And that something that is following him is dark, it's dirty, it's horrible, it's evil to him, his perception. He actually has called it. And he turns around and he realizes that it's flagging him, meaning that wherever he goes in this sacred, beautiful land, which truly represents his soul, that it's there. We find out later, and this is the explanation of that in The Journey Home, is that everything in this book means something else. This is a biggie, and this probably is one, I would say, of the most prominent things in the book. This thing has a name, and it's called it. And here's how it is explained. When I wrote that book and the metaphors were there, I knew I had to have some kind of a vehicle to explain all the metaphors, and I have, and I'll give that place of that vehicle for you to see it. But this particular attribute of the book, one of the biggest ones, was about that. I will call it the part of yourself which represents your duality. It's you. How do you like that? And what happens there is as soon as you go into this magic land, whether it is you personally going into your journey or whether it's Michael Thomas in this novel, you split apart. And that split apart is very accurate, because you come to that place of divinity and you feel it all through you and you realize you're at peace with all things and yourself. And then you realize there might be something else there, because your consciousness is your consciousness, and the duality, that positive, negative, lower, higher, whatever, that scale of consciousness is always you. There's always duality. You split apart, and it chases you. And it really does chase you. Can I tell you that those in my early days, I can remember being chased by my thoughts. This is stupid. It's not going to work. What are you doing, Lee? You're more practical than this. It tried to pull me back from what the practical sense. And you know this because you have friends who say you're insane, you're going out of your mind, and all these things. There's a part of you that will do the same thing. And so the idea that you could be in this magic land, in the circle of 12, go across a bridge and actually have something chasing you, that's the doubt. That's the fear. That's all of those things that are the dark side, if you want to call it that, of you. Now, I can't just leave it there, because I'll say in the journey home, in the explanations, it's conquered and it's conquerable. I have actually conquered mine in so many ways, and I continue to conquer it because it never goes away. It just resurfaces. It doesn't bother me anymore, and it doesn't take over anymore, but I often have to tell it to get in the back seat because that's who we are. So this is a long answer, but it's a critical, important answer. Okay, here's what I want to tell you. That explanation of that book, The Journey Home, became a 4-hour video series that was a paid series years ago. Just recently, in the last few months, we have released it. And some of you know who have been with us for a while that it's been available for free, episode by episode. And now completely all 4 episodes, it's on our site. It's on Kryon Masters. You go to the front page, look for it, The Journey Home, and you can see that, again, for free. And it walks you through this whole episode, and it is there, and you will see exactly what I'm talking about. I'm sorry I've taken so long to explain this.
I am so glad you mentioned The Journey Home, because as soon as I was reading Michelle's question, that scene from The Journey Home of it chasing the duality was exactly what you explained.
And Michelle pegged it. I mean, she couldn't have said it better, because that's what the book was about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So again, if you haven't seen the explanation of Lee talking about The Journey Home, it is available for free. And where can they find that, Lee?
Well, it should be, if you go to the front page of Kryon Masters, there'll be a place where you can see it. And there's a lot of things there, but you look for The Journey Home.
So definitely read the book. It's absolutely my favorite Kryon book. And if people ask about Kryon, that's the one I always give them, The Journey Home book.
Still available on our store.
Still available. And then read the book and then get all the insights behind the book, because everything means something else. So, Lee, we have another question here, and it's from Sam, who has said he's both from California and from Israel.
Sam, which one are you from? Come on.
So I think he's an Israeli living in California. That's what I think.
Or a California living in Israel.
No, he's not living... Well, yeah.
Okay, we don't know.
Could be.
No, but I love it. Thank you.
Anyway, he's saying, when I get into the deep meditation of the Circle of 12 and I start feeling the energies around my field, things start to get a little strange and uncomfortable, because it's out of the normal that I'm used to. And when I start feeling the energies are flowing in from outside my Merkaba, I literally freak out. My first reaction is fear. It's a fear I have never experienced before. And here's the thing, I know the energies are from source, but I am so afraid of it. How can I overcome this fear? I know we've talked about fear questions, but this one's slightly different.
But Sam is, again, doing something that so many of those wise people in our membership are doing, is that they'll ask the question and answer it within the question. And Sam has done the same thing. He says he knows what it is, or he just wants to know how to dispel it. But he knows what it is, because he even says it's not what he's used to. It's out of the norm, and he knows that's why he's afraid. That's exactly right. In fact, if you will go back to perhaps some of the original programs of Healing Wednesday, when we're actually setting the premise, Kryon says you're going into the unknown. It's a place you've never gone before, and you may be afraid. The fear is so real. What if this were a trick? And this is what people will tell you. What if it's not what Kryon says? What Kryon has told you is that you're going to a place, if you want to call it that, you've never been before, and it's so unusually different. It's not linear. It doesn't have any of the parameters that you're used to. It's not normal. So you cross the bridge, and although you might find yourself in this loving place, which is your soul, you're still an attribute of fear that may come in with you. It's the same as the last question to a little bit. Yeah. How do you dispel that? When I started channeling, this actually was part of me. So here I am, very, very new, starting in front of people to channel as the engineer. I wasn't doing it full time. I'd go back to work and whatever. Even when I was channeling, or perhaps in the breaks between the channeling, there was fear. And you'll say, why would there be? How can there be when you're one foot is on the other side of the veil and you're into the channel? And that is because I was simply afraid of what I didn't know. So what I've done is to say, Dear Spirit, show me that love that puts it all in its place. Fear, get behind me, get in the back seat. You're inappropriate at this time for this sacred place. It works because you are the boss of you.
That is beautiful, Lee. And I think we'll move into a meditation now and hear a channel from Kryon. And with the energy of those words Lee gave us, I invite you to put your hands on your heart. Close your eyes. And let us address the innate. Dear innate, I release all inappropriate things from my body. Dear innate, I release anything that is inappropriate to be released from the magnificence of my cellular structure. Dear innate, I release all fear and anxiety. And take a deep breath. Relax your hands. Feel the energy within your feet connecting to Gaia. Feel Gaia supporting you, loving you. And here is the statement. I am a magnificent human. I am a champion of duality in my life. And with gratitude, I receive the wisdom from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. Again, I am so aware of who is here and who is listening. Not just now, with your eyes and your ears, but those who will be listening only later or watching later, who perhaps years from now will hear this message for the first time. It's a timeless message, an important one. And it's number 2 of 4 that are being presented in this series of 4. The series is about a new frontier, which we're calling humanity's awakening into higher consciousness. Some have simply called it an increase of an awareness, an increase of an awareness. In the first section, we laid the groundwork for what we are speaking of now. In the laying of the groundwork, we asked the question, what if there were a greater truth? What if? What if there is a graduated scale, if you might say, of intelligence and awareness and all of that, and society and culture and humanity goes through these and they raise it slightly or not? Their free choice. What if you are broaching a new kind of awareness? And then we got into that which is spiritual, which we are speaking of now. And we said, what if there's a grander, greater truth? One that hides until you see it, in any way you can see it. We discussed those who have been on the operating tables and who have died clinically and come back. And what they say to so many of the surgeons who are with them at their clinical death and with them when they wake. And so many surgeons have heard the same words, and we said this, and we closed with it. When they saw a greater truth and a magnificent, and the door cracked open, and they saw and got a glimpse of the reality, not your doctrine, but your reality, they said, why did you bring me back? That's profound. This is a section that starts to explain how profound it might be. I want you to visit for just a moment the whole idea of growing up. It's common to all cultures, human nature, to watch your children grow. So many of you either have the children or know of those who do, or perhaps are related and have spent time with the little ones. And you watch that perceptual awareness start to grow. And it's so fun to see it when they get so wise. Or sometimes they have knowledge without wisdom, and it's so fun to hear what they say in all their innocence. They say the children say some very special things. Books have been written. And then slowly you see an awareness happen, and they get a little wiser. And then they become a little wiser even than that. They become young adults. And so you see a process of awareness and how it looks to you as the brain starts to grow and the maturity starts to happen in human consciousness. Now, this particular attribute of growth within, from children to adults, so common. I want you to look at that and place that metaphor right now on humanity in general and the way things work on the planet. There is an opportunity for consciousness and awareness to have that same kind of growth through history. You have the opportunity to discover better things, to have a higher consciousness of what you want for one another. It's classic. We've said it before. It wasn't that long ago, before America perhaps even started, that your parent country and those in Europe would have festivals, and families would come out and picnics would happen in order to see someone beheaded. Do you think that you've gone past that? Some would say, well, no, we're just doing other things instead of it. But you have gone past it. In other words, that's unconscionable today. Something has happened between then and now that has raised that awareness of what is appropriate and not appropriate for humanism. That's what we speak of. That's a small incremental step, but you get to see it, even with a few hundred years. You're in a new energy now. You've passed a marker, and it's accelerated. It is really accelerated, and now is the time for you to see another kind of growth, and it's happening before your eyes. And we've had many channels on it. But that's the metaphor. So what is it that is so profound that we speak of? What's the feeling of it? What is it like? What's the next step? In order for me to tell you these things, I'm just going to give you perceptions and ideas so you can ponder it yourself. We speak of spiritual things in this message. And for 31 years, that's what we have done. And there are those who listen in for a moment and will laugh. And they will say, why would I want to change religion? Well, they'd say, here's what the world needs is another belief system. And I would say to you or anyone else who has gone that direction, you're not understanding. You don't really get it. You honestly don't understand. This is not another belief system. This is a revelation of a truth you never were told. A door opens, and all you can do is go, oh my, I had no idea. It's not another doctrine. It's not another set of rules. It's not another situation where we're asking you to get out of one bag and get into another and join something. This is not it. It's a plea to sit and discover something bigger than you were ever told. I equate it to this. A sightless person suddenly doesn't just get sight. They get sight with color, 3D, and more. And in that metaphor is everything. This explains something very, very common to you I've said before. This planet has sight, And they have just enough sight to have figured things out for themselves and to find out that God is great and there's one God and one creator. And that's where you sit. But you sit in a black and white earth. Everyone's seeing in black and white. And suddenly there is the concept of those of you who are seeing color. That's not another black and white layer. It's not another religion, is it? You step out of the black and white world and you see color and you say, what am I going to do with it? What is it? But mostly, how do I explain it to a black and white earth? Honestly, how would you explain sight to a sightless person who has been sightless for birth? Not only that, start to explain the hues of colors that you see in a perception they don't have and never have had. You see, the issue is this. It's unbelievable. In this color world that we speak of, that you can participate in, this is a metaphor for another paradigm of truth. But the truth of color is so much bigger than the truth of black and white. I hold to this because this is the best metaphor I can give you. If you have indeed discovered color all around you, and you're now starting to draw in color and think in color and believe in color, and you go back home, for instance, or go back to work, for instance, and the door opens and you're in a black and white earth, and all they speak about are things that they know are in black and white, and all the hues of color and the grandness and the glory is not even perceptible to them. And there's nothing wrong with them. It's just that they are in another reality, and they are good people and beautiful people. But they look at you, and if you talk about color, they often will roll their eyes and walk away. It isn't believable, not yet. So they cannot perceive the thing that you've experienced. And this is what it's like to have a new frontier of awareness where the earth starts to see things that they never saw before. I'll tell you a story. It's for your time. It's one my partner will always remember. Since the late 40s, Israel has always had difficulties with the neighbors around them, and the neighbors have been trouble with Israel. There's been many events, many things said and done. There's been many deaths. There's been wars. There's hatred, and there still is. One society is still living within another, seemingly appropriately to one side, inappropriately to another, and it goes and goes. In Israel, there's a name for it. In Palestine, there's a name for it. It's called the situation. And it's the elephant under the table when you go to the Middle East in certain areas, meaning it's always there. Tourists will be enjoying a certain kind of monument or a certain kind of church or temple or whatever. And if they turn their heads to the left or to the right, they'll see they're guarded by those with machine guns. It tells you the elephant under the table is still there. Some years ago, my partner sat in a chair, alone, on a stage. It wasn't a theater in the round, like the Circle of 12, but it was a stage alone, all the lights on one chair, 1,000 people, all young Israelis in the audience. And Kryon wanted to talk about the situation. And he told them something that was unbelievable to many, except the young people who were there were taken by what I said, because they knew color was coming. And that's what I said. You can't figure it out. The situation is untenable, not figure-outable. It has been this way for all of these years. There will be new solutions coming to you you never thought could ever happen. Young people, arise and search. I was speaking then of a new normal. I was speaking then in front of all of these. You live in black and white, and color is coming. And I say that to you right now. This is the second of 4 attributes of this new frontier of awareness, and I'm simply covering the difference between that which you've experienced and that which you might. Dramatic, not a new belief system, not a new religion, not a new doctrine, a grand, grand truth that we invite you to begin to investigate, to see. And so many of you are already there, and you understand it and know what I speak. I am Kryon, in love with humanity, for good reason. And so it is.
And just focus your energy on your feet. Feel the connection with Gaia. Feel the energy of love and support from our beautiful planet. And allow that to move all up through your body, bringing your awareness back into the room, putting a beautiful smile on your face, because we are really happy. Lee and I have our next guest is Amy B. Scher. And Amy, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful. Well, we want to tell everyone about you, Amy. So, Lee, why don't you start?
Well, I love the fact that, again, with Zoom, we can go anywhere. And right now, we're in New York. Actually, kind of between San Diego and New York. Amy B. Scher is an energy therapist, expert in mind-body healing, and the best-selling author of How to Heal Yourself from Anxiety, How to Heal Yourself When No One Else Can. Love that title. Mm-hmm. And This Is How I Saved My Life. She's often lovingly referred to as an accidental guru. I actually relate a little to that. She uses energy therapy techniques to help those experiencing emotional and physical challenges to move and heal permanently and completely.
Now, Amy has been featured in the Times of India, Daily News, CNN, the Huffington Post, CBS, the Washington Post, Cosmopolitan, the Los Angeles Review of Books, Curve Magazine, and many more. Now, she's also been named one of Advocate's 40 Under 40. I love that. Mm-hmm. Now, her inspirational story, down-to-earth approach to healing, which is especially great for me as an Aussie, and her accessible teaching style has been well received by a variety of audiences.
She's worked with many organizations, to name a few: the Department of Psychiatry at Stanford University, New York Presbyterian Hospital, and the New York University in New York City. She's delighted to be on the Associate Board for Literacy Partners in New York, an organization that empowers parents through literacy education.
Now, Amy's books have been translated into 10 languages. And here's what's really fun, Lee, is that her books have been endorsed by many notable best-selling authors. These best-selling authors, they've read her books and they're 100% behind what Amy has to offer.
And I know, and the reason we're not talking about that is because we're going to get to her, but if you take a look at her bio on her site, you will recognize the books by these authors. So that's always impressive to me, and she's impressive to me. And so we're just going to get right to it. Amy, tell us anything you want to. We'll interrupt you if we can't stand it and have to ask a question, but welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here. It's such a pleasure. So I would love to share just a little bit about how I got into my work, which is energy therapy. And some people go, what is energy therapy? So we'll start with that if that sounds good. Energy therapy is a type of work that allows us to release emotional or energetic blockages from our body to really support our well-being, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And the specific type of energy therapy or energy healing work I do is directly related to thoughts, emotions, and beliefs. So I call this work working on your inner landscape, which is your inner emotional landscape. So there's all kinds of different energy therapies and energy healing, all of them amazing in their own right. But what I teach people to do is release emotional baggage from their body to become who they really are so they can heal permanently and completely. And what that means is overcoming challenges like anxiety, chronic illness, and depression, which is the topic of my latest book. I have a series of 3 healing books that cover all of these different things because these 3, chronic illness, anxiety, and depression, are what I see so many people struggling with right now. And I'm sure the 2 of you do as well. And I wanted to share a little bit about how the emotional baggage we carry in our bodies affects us emotionally and physically. And I'd like to start off by saying none of that is our fault. It just happens because life happens, right? And we tend to get buried under the stuff of life, the pressures we put on ourselves, the trauma we're carrying around, the beliefs that we have, the stresses in our lives. And over time, when we carry that long enough, it can depress or suppress who we really are. It pushes down who we really are when we're carrying all of this baggage in our bodies. And what happens when we can't feel and be connected to who we really are? We become depressed, anxious, and sometimes even when that's been going on long enough, physical symptoms show up in the body. And that is the work that I've been doing for almost 10 years now, or about 10 years now, helping people put those pieces together. Why don't I feel good? And what may be stuck in my body that is contributing to these symptoms, emotional or physical? When I talk about my work, I always like to say whatever I share here doesn't mean that what you've been working on with your doctor or your therapist or any other practitioner should be ignored. There are so many contributors to why we feel the way we do, but in my own healing journey, what I learned is that emotional baggage and stress in our body can actually impact us in a way that our chemical balance can become imbalanced, our hormones can become imbalanced, our organs cannot work to their full capacity. And so even if you are going through something where your doctor's found a chemical imbalance or hormonal imbalance or something wrong, on an x-ray or MRI, something like that, working with emotions to release stress from the body and help your body become the best and calmest healing environment it can be is beneficial no matter what other things you're doing to heal. So even though the titles of my book, or the series of my books are How to Heal Yourself When No One Else Can, How to Heal Yourself from Anxiety When No One Else Can, and How to Heal Yourself from Depression When No One Else Can, I always like to say what my books and my work teach, and you're going to learn some of it right here live today, is that you don't have to heal yourself alone. It's okay to have practitioners. It's okay to listen to your doctor. And of course, you should do all those things. But there is something that's important to know, which is there is a piece of you that may need to be healed that no one else can do. Why? Because it's the part that we are all each responsible for within ourselves, our emotional landscape, our spiritual selves, the parts of us that no doctor or therapist or even alternative practitioner can reach. And so that is why I'm here today, to teach you today a technique and an approach that you can use in addition to what you're already using to help yourself feel and heal better. And I have to say that I know all of this because I went through my own very long, debilitating illness journey in which I came to the realization that there was a piece that I had been missing. I had traveled all over the world. In my early 20s, I became sick with one thing after another. Essentially, it started with migraines. And then after that, I started having problems walking. Eventually, after a few years, I was at times I was bedbound, but I was very housebound. for much of this decade that I was struggling. It turned out I had chronic Lyme disease, which I was living in California at the time. And this was many years ago. This was in 2007 when I was finally diagnosed. And, nobody, I mean, in California, we had never heard, I mean, some of us had, but we didn't know about Lyme disease. Now that I live in New York, of course, everybody knows about Lyme disease, and there's become a lot more awareness. But I basically traveled all over the world, including going to India for an experimental stem cell transplant to try to help regenerate my nerves, boost my immune system, reverse some of this massive damage that the undiagnosed Lyme disease did to my body. And even though I had done all of the treatments in the United States for Lyme disease, I had IV antibiotic therapy, I had hyperbaric oxygen treatment, nothing worked to really get me well. So I went to India to this experimental treatment that, guess what, was almost like a miracle. It got me well. But there's a catch, because there's always a catch in a healing story, until you get to the very end, which is that after I came back from India, I was massively better than I had been. I arrived to India in a wheelchair, and I left running through the airport because I almost missed my flight. So it was a very, very stark, incredible difference. But what happened was that about a year later, I started slipping backwards. And it was at that point when my symptoms started coming back that I started to question my entire journey to wellness. And I started to think back to all the treatments that I did. And I started to think back to all of the doctors I saw. And I wondered what I could have missed. And it was around this time that I sort of had an epiphany that if all of these amazing doctors and medical treatments weren't curing my physical body, then the cause for the disease couldn't be purely physical. Every time they found something wrong, I did the remedy they told me I needed. Every time they found something missing, I fixed it. And I started to really dive into there must be something else. And this is when I really learned about the piece about energy therapy and how our bodies are energetic. And most of you joining us today probably know that. But the thing that I missed was that our emotional landscape, who we are inside, what we believe, how we hold on to emotions instead of let them go, was the biggest piece that I had missed. And I was raised by a therapist, so I was totally used to talking about my feelings. And not only that, but I was a very positive person by nature. But one thing I realized is that being positive isn't what it's all about. It's the feelings inside you. So if anyone else is out there thinking, well, I think positive all the time, I am one of the most optimistic people you'll ever meet. But on the flip side of that, guess what? I had some emotional patterns that were detrimental to my health. I was a people pleaser. Can anybody relate? Raise your hand. Proud if you can relate. A perfectionist, raise your hand. I didn't like anybody to be unhappy. I was so self-critical because I felt like I wasn't enough. I could always do more. If it wasn't doing more around work, it was doing more for somebody in my life. And all of these things, all these patterns, including a big one for me was not feeling comfortable expressing who I really was, talking about my emotions, being vulnerable. I can be a really stoic person. I know I'm animated and friendly, but I can be a very stoic person and not like to share my emotions. And all of that, I realized, added up to a stress on my physical body. And unless I did something about that, and unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, I was the only one who could do something about that, then I wasn't going to heal permanently and completely. And that's when I learned energy therapy and learned the tools, and also created some of my own tools that are now in my books to actually release stuck emotional baggage from the body, get it out of my body, release that burden, so that my immune system and my nervous system weren't so depressed or suppressed, and either was I. And in that process came my full and complete healing. And I've been well for a decade now. So that was my last and missing piece. And people always say to me, well, what do you think would have happened if you did that first? And I always say, most of us will never know, because who does the emotional work first? No one, right? We all come to this. Don't we all come to spirituality and the emotional work and the mind-body connection? Don't we all come to it because nothing else worked? And we are externally seeking people in many ways. And then when that doesn't work, when the quick fixes don't work, we go, okay, I guess we have to deal with ourselves, which is really what I came to. And so, so that's my story that I like to share. And I would love to share, unless you two have any questions, some techniques that people can start using today to release some of this stress and emotional baggage, because it's always beneficial to do that no matter what you're dealing with or healing from.
I think that's wonderful, and thank you that you're going to share that. And I loved how you talked about our body we're a chemical factory. So everything in the body we're producing chemically through a myriad of things, like our thoughts, emotions, felt perceptions, and all of that's changeable. This is the magic.
I also like the fact that you said, with the courage to say, well, it worked, but then it didn't. In other words, it slipped back when I found myself in the old. This is so common. People don't really talk about that, especially healers. And so in that, I love that, because people can really relate.
Absolutely.
Sorry. People get so frustrated when they feel like they're slipping back or whatever, but we're always on some kind of healing journey. And when we slip back, it's not a failure. It's just that another window opens for us to look through and go, what else could I bring in?
Absolutely. So we are ready for another piece of the puzzle for you to share with us.
All right. I'm going to share two techniques. I only plan to share one, but I think I should share two. That's how I'm feeling. So let's go with that. So the first technique that I'm going to share is called thymus tapping or thymus thumping, which you may be familiar with. Some of you may be familiar with. And I learned this originally from Donna Eden, who's an energy medicine pioneer and an incredible mentor and teacher. So your thymus gland is about right here. If you go to where a bow tie would sit on your neck and you go about an inch down, you have a raised part of your breastbone. You cannot see your thymus gland, but your thymus gland is the master gland of your immune system. And it's been shown now that tapping it or thumping it with your fist, tapping it or thumping it, actually releases stress from the body and helps manually stimulate the thymus gland into producing some of the cells it needs to keep you strong and healthy. It's also energetically linked to all of your body, your energy body. And so when we tap it, we are actually using a percussive effect to kind of send a swoosh of energy through the energy system and clear out or push out any emotional stress or energy that's stuck there. What I like to do when I'm feeling stressed is tap the thymus gland, and at the same time, use a mantra. And the mantra I like to use, although it's not necessary, is let go, let go, let go. To really let my body know I can let go of all that's coming up, that's stressing me out, that's imbalancing my body. And I just repeat it. I do this for a few minutes, and I just repeat, let go, let go, let go. I think the practice of letting go of stress from the physical body and from the energetic body is so important, because most of us who have ended up with experiencing depression, chronic illness, or anxiety have actually had a pattern of holding on, right? Biting our tongue, holding on to our feelings, bottling up emotions so that we don't upset other people. And over time, when we hold on, our body actually gets set in the pattern of holding on. And the energy of holding on is a contracted energy. It's kind of like, oh. And if you stay like that too long, you will feel it in your physical or spiritual body. You will start to feel exhausted. You will start to feel agitated. You will maybe get some physical symptoms coming up. And so that's why I like to pair this tapping when you're feeling stressed or very emotional with let go, let go, let go. It's a reprogramming of the body to say, even though I've been holding on, my new pattern will be let go, let go, let go. And you can almost feel how much relief that brings to the body just in that 1 or 2 minutes of tapping.
Beautiful. I definitely felt it. And easy, and I definitely felt it.
It seems like such an easy exercise, but it works.
Yeah.
You're right. I've heard of this before. We have friends who do it, but this is something you can do just anytime you want to.
Yes, and And by the way, this is great for kids too. If you have kids who are having a hard time dealing with just the stuff that kids have a hard time dealing with, especially right now in this day and age, they will love to do this. You can let them sort of do more of like a Tarzan or something a little more fun than gently tapping, but they will do that. So if they're really frustrated, really angry, really sad, you can say, why don't you try tapping your feelings out, and tell them this is a magic point that when you tap on it, it helps helps you let go of all those yucky feelings and feel better. And it works really, really well for kids.
Fabulous. Absolutely fabulous.
You say you have another one. You got another one?
Yes, and I have another one.
Oh, good.
So the next one is slightly more complicated, but because that one was so easy, it's barely going to be harder. So this one is a technique I actually created, which is called alternate temple tapping. And I go deep into it in my newest book, How to Heal Yourself from Depression When No One Else Can, because I actually came up with it in the last couple of years in between books. So there's only one book that has it, but I'm going to give you the sneak peek of what you do with it now. So alternate temple tapping is so simple. It's actually tapping alternately on your temples. And I'm going to show you more about how to use it in a second, but let me explain why it works. This area, and coming down the side of our head and down our shoulders and down our arms, there's an energy pathway here called the triple warmer meridian. That is an energy pathway that governs the fight, flight, or freeze mechanism in your body. The fight, flight, and freeze mechanism is also linked to your nervous system and your stress response. So this is essentially the energy pathway that's linked in to when you get really freaked out and you either fight, flight, or freeze because you're in such what I call freak out mode. So what tapping does is it helps to move you out of that space, out of being totally panicked, totally frozen and overwhelmed, or totally just freaked out, basically. And the reason that we tap alternately on this area that's so specific to fight, flight, or freeze, when we tap, it calms it down. But when we tap alternately, what happens is we're using something called bilateral stimulation, which is used in several different therapies. And bilateral stimulation uses the stimulation of both sides of the brain that have been shown to release trauma better and faster than if you just tap on one side or just do something on one side of the body. So it helps the brain sort of interact in a really efficient way to release trauma and calm the body down. So all you do for this one is you close your eyes and you think about, or just allow the reality of whatever is stressing you out or coming up for you in this moment. And you just let it come up. You don't resist it, because in all the history of resisting emotions, nobody has ever told me that worked. So we're not going to do that, but we're just going to allow the emotions to come up. And whatever it is, you could be feeling I'm overwhelmed, you could be feeling I'm mad, you could be feeling whatever, it doesn't matter. And you're going to start alternately tapping on your temples. That's it. And what you're doing by letting the emotions or the reality come up at the same time as you're tapping is you're calming the body's stress response. You're calming the fight, flight, or freeze response in relationship to the stress that you're thinking about or feeling right now. So you're creating this scenario where you're calming yourself down even in the presence of stress. And what does that do? It reassociates you with how you deal with stress. It's basically you're calming your body down and your mind's going, well, I am stressed about this thing, but I kind of feel okay about it, or I can be okay. We're not trying to change any circumstance. We're trying to change your reaction. And that's all you do. You just tap. And when you're done, you can take a break. You can put your hands down. I like to shake my hands off, take a big deep breath. And I usually have people close their eyes and see if they feel any better. If you feel better, great. You can keep tapping or not. If you don't yet, you just go back to your temples and tap for a few more minutes. And this will calm you down and will start to change your relationship with that feeling or thing you're thinking about. So even if no circumstances changed while you were doing your magic alternate temple tapping, you could still have the opportunity to feel better about or more peace around the thing that's stressing you out. Is that easy enough too?
Oh, really easy.
Great.
And I definitely feel a difference. Yeah, and a calmness.
I didn't do it only because I have to take off my glasses and then I can't see what I'm doing.
Yes, you would.
But yes, I happen to know something, and you can probably cover it. You've got a quiz or something that is a profound quiz and very telling.
I do. So I have a quiz that I created, which was so tedious and so much fun to create, which helps people figure out what is blocking them. So this is the majority of things clients come to me with, students come to me with, and I get emails about. Okay, I'm open to the idea that there's some emotional baggage or something going on that I'm not aware of that's blocking me, but I don't know what it is. I think we can all relate with that frustration of not knowing what it is.
Yes.
So I created a quiz based on my 10 years of helping thousands and thousands of people heal, which walks you through 10 questions that allow you to answer. It's multiple choice. It's super easy. And at the end, depending on your very specific and personal combination of answers, I will tell you, based on all of my experience and your answers, what is blocking you, what belief you may have, or what block you may have. And then, of course, I don't tell you just what's blocking you. I give you a video and some information about what you can do to start unblocking yourself. And so sometimes even just the knowing, okay, that makes sense, that's why I'm stuck, brings so much relief. But of course, we will go a step further and help you start to release that specific emotional energy that is directly blocking you so that you can start to feel and heal better faster.
And that's only 10 questions.
I know my stuff.
I know.
I got it down to 10 questions.
That's a wonderful answer. Thank you for that. But that tells me that it was very, very carefully constructed questions.
Very.
And I love that what you said, in all of your techniques, you can do it in conjunction with any other treatment that you are currently doing. That's what I love about the practicality of it, the ease of use of it. Just those two things, tapping on the thymus and the alternate temple tapping already is a huge benefit for anybody doing any treatment whatsoever.
I really encourage everybody who's listening to this to actually do it now or maybe even in the break that's coming up. Because it really does help. I don't want the time getting away. We got 4 minutes left. I think you have a gift for us.
Yes, the quiz is my gift. The quiz that we got ahead of ourselves, but the quiz is what the gift is.
So we have a little.
There's a link.
Link.
Yeah, will be in the chat box. Or if you're watching the replay, just scroll down below the video and all of Amy's bio and the links will be there available for you.
And this gift gives them a chance to take the test and enjoy some of the answers in the videos and whatever you have.
And
yep.
All right.
Absolutely. And I give guidance, very specific guidance, so that once you find out what the block is, you can actually start to work on it.
And what I think I know the answer to this question, Amy, but I'm sure if you do the quiz, then come back a year later, it's probably going to reveal different things, right?
Yes, or it might reveal that you have no blocks anymore.
Wow.
So
We love that
would be exciting.
That's what I want. Every interview does the final thing. Got a few minutes left. Just a parting thing. We're in COVID. We're still in COVID, really, even though people say we're coming out. Indeed, but we're still there. And some still are in lockdowns, others releasing. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of anxiety. These are two things I know you can do. But those books that you've released, and I don't know when you wrote them, just sound like they were written for this time. Do you have anything to say to our people in
COVID? So my last book, How to Heal Yourself from Depression When No One Else Can, was conceptualized and written mostly before COVID. But what universal orchestrated timing, right, for it to just come out a couple of months ago. So that is brand new and for this time. But I think what it's important for everybody to know is that there is so much happening right now, but there are so many things you can do in less than 5 minutes a day or 5 minutes at a time that can help you move through this time easier, to move through this time better, so that when we do come out on the other side with all of the grief and all of the anxieties and things that we might have, we are better, stronger, more resilient people for it. And there's so much out there right now to help make that happen.
That's awesome. This has been wonderful.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Definitely.
Well, I think people are really enjoying this. And
Thank you.
It's great information, and it's so practical. That's what I like about it. And it's almost an instant gratification or answers for things you can do right now. Then the next step, of course, is to go further with the things that you have written about. You're so well received by so many people, and so I really thank you for the time you've given us today to share it.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here with you too.
All right.
Wonderful.
Well,
we're going to move into a 10-minute break, and why don't you keep on tapping, whether it's your thymus or whether it's your alternate temple, or perhaps you might want to use that 10 minutes to get online and do the quiz. Won't that be revealing?
That'd be great.
So take your 10 minutes, and then we'll see you very, very soon for the Circle of 12.
Welcome back from break, everyone. Hope you had a nice time. We were just reading your chat. Now, of course, if you are listening to the replay, you realize you've missed the chats. So we encourage those of you who are only listening to the replays, if you can, to join us at 6, because there's a beautiful chat family, and we're getting used to reading the chats and seeing some of the same names, and it's just growing and growing.
It's a beautiful energy, more than just the chat family. It's the excitement and the energy that everybody brings during that first moment where you're listening to this and experiencing Kryon's channels and meditations. I love it.
Especially the cat. We talked about it earlier. Now, see, if you didn't tune in the first part of the show, you have no idea what I'm talking about. So
that's correct.
So you're going to have to go back and
I
find
guess
out.
that was a teaser to watch us from start to end.
That's right.
So anyway, I think we should go straight into the Circle of 12. And as we prepare to enter the Circle of 12, let us begin by giving some statements of intent.